there, welcome back to our coffee and cake chat series. I'm Yvette from Enchanted Cakes by Yvette, and it's so good to have you here. So this is the fourth episode in this series, and today we're going to be talking about wedding cakes. Okay, what you need to be discussing with your clients to decide on their design. Okay, well, this is the best way I found to go about it. You know, over the last 10 years, when I first started, I didn't even know sometimes what the occasion was for that I was creating the cake for. I didn't have a form or anything like that. I didn't have anything in place. You know, the processes was minimal, basically. They asked me for a cake, showed me a picture, gave a quote, didn't ask for what the event was. I didn't ask for the venue. Most of the time they collected. That's all changed. Okay, so moving forward, once you've established yourself, you're comfortable in your techniques and your style, and you want to move away just from the birthday cakes or the cupcakes, the smaller christenings, you want to move into more elaborate kind of celebrations, the natural progression can be to move into weddings. Okay, wedding cakes are a world of their own. They are wonderful. Okay, you're dealing with a lot more people when you're working on a wedding cake. Generally, it's not just the bride. You might be working with the groom. You might be working with the bride's mum for the design. You might also be working with a wedding planner. You'll also be working with the venue. There are so many more people that are involved in the process of a wedding cake. Okay, so just keep that all in mind and start at the beginning. Okay, first of all, always the date. Are you fully available? If someone contacts you, you need to know the date of the wedding so that you can decide if you have enough space in your calendar, in your schedule to create their wedding cake. Okay, once you go from there, work on the design. Okay, most brides, I say this in general, most brides have some idea of what they would like for their wedding cake. Coffee. But sometimes they need a bit of assistance. It varies so much. You'll get some brides that have every single detail nailed down that they would like, and others that are just like, oh, I've got like a vague idea, but I don't know really where to start. Okay, so your goal as the cake designer is to guide them so that you both have a clear understanding of what the end picture is going to look like for that wedding cake. Okay, the easiest way to start is to have her provide, or him or both, or whoever the couple are, to provide some images for inspiration. Okay, if you've made a whole range of cakes, you know, you may not have made a lot of real wedding cakes, but you may have a lot of fake ones that you've designed and have on your website, and that for styles that you're comfortable to go ahead and create. Direct them to the galleries on your website. If you have Pinterest boards of your own, direct them there. It could be your Instagram grid. You could tell them to scroll through that and have a look at all your latest designs. Okay, so if it's not coming from you, if they've seen something somewhere else, always get them to send through these images. Okay, this could be an entire Pinterest board that they've created on their own, and it has a dozen different cakes on there. Okay, so from there you need to go through and have a look at the similarities within all those cakes. Okay, and marry it back to what they've also requested through their words, because sometimes you'll get clients that will come through and say, I only want a buttercream cake, and yet they've sent you 5 pictures of fondant covered cakes. Okay, so you need to determine that they know exactly what they're asking and what they're looking at. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't match up. Okay, so you have to really get specific with them so that you know that the end product they're going to be happy with. Okay, so always start with a few images of some basic designs so that you can get the basic look. Okay, is it going to be a highly polished, luxurious look? Is it going to be more of a rustic look? Is it full of flowers? Is it more modern contemporary techniques? Okay, you get the whole general vibe of what they would like. Another way to do this too is to have them supply invitations. Sometimes they might want to match the theme of the invitation, bridesmaids' dresses colours as well. That's another thing. Sometimes they'll match up the colours of the decoration on the cake, or the actual cake they'll want to match with the bridesmaids as well. I made this really tall, beautiful, narrow, like a denim blue kind of colour, blue cake. And you know, you're always second guessing yourself, like, really, is this the actual colour and that? And when I turned up to the venue, the cake also had beautiful, like light neutral and peachy toned florals and ivories and that. And that's what I'd put on the cake. And when I turned up to the venue, the room was set up with the same colours. It was amazing, the colour match, because she'd sent me a couple of images of cake inspirations that she'd liked, and she'd sent me one photo of flowers she was thinking of having. And but I didn't have any actual, you know, physical flowers that I could go and look at or see or anything like that. So the match was beautiful. And then to also hear back from the bride and from the reception later on that when the bridesmaids came in, their dresses matched the blue of the cake perfectly. It was, yeah, it's lovely. It's a lovely feeling as the cake artist to know that you've done your best. You've talked to the couple as much as you can to nail down their design and bring their dream cake to life, and to be actually be able to go and deliver that and know confidently that you've done your best work and that they're going to be happy is the ultimate feeling. Okay, because you are being part of their most special day. So you want to make sure that, you know, your work is to the highest of your high caliber. Okay, in my business, it's always been high-end cakes. So there is a lot of time, there is a lot of technique and skill that goes into each and every one of my cakes. Okay, so that means generally less orders I would take, but they would technically be larger or more in-depth and detailed types of cakes. Okay, and by detailed and technically difficult, it doesn't mean that your cake is covered in all this technique. It could be as simple as a very pared back but perfectly clean looking cake as well, because they can take a lot longer to perfect than a cake that has a lot of decoration on it, which brings us into our next thing to talk about with design. For when your couples come to you and say, I just want a simple cake, okay, you need to talk budgets. Okay, again, you work from your inspiration, but you do need to have that conversation with them so that they're not confusing a simple cake with a cheap cake or a less expensive cake. Okay, there are ways that if they want to try and reduce the costs, maybe they can provide their own decorations to you. They can pay their florist directly and supply the flowers for you to pop on. They can provide their own fake flowers for you to use, or their own figurines rather than you having to source it. That can be a way to try and keep their costs down. But a simple cake generally does not mean a less expensive cake, because the technique and the skill and the time that goes into perfecting a simple looking cake can be a lot more involved than a cake that has elaborate designs on it, where there's actually plenty of room to cover up if anything's not, 150% perfect. So you're always thinking about that as well when you're talking to your clients. Plus as well, when they send through multiple images and they're weighing up, or maybe I want like a cake that's covered in beautiful sugar pearls. That was a very big trend. But then they're tossing up, oh, do I want a cake that's got a beautiful bow on it, which is on trend? Or maybe they'd like to say, oh, maybe I'd just prefer a cake with fresh flowers on it. Okay, so they're three very different styles, and I've always just gone with a price range for each. Okay, this kind of style for this many guests, for this size serving of your cake. So you need to determine as well, I use having the cake as coffee portions. So coffee portions are smaller than your dessert portions. The coffee portions would be generally served on platters after dessert has been given with the tea and coffee, whereas dessert size portions are generally larger and they're all individually plated to each of the guests. Again, so that's another thing you need to think about. Okay, so when you're giving your price ranges and that, sometimes they will know that in advance, and sometimes they're waiting for you to give them the prices so they can decide whether or not they want the cake to be the main dessert, because a lot of receptions and venue packages now will offer that, and they'll use the cake as the dessert, or maybe they're waiting to see what your price comes in at and they'll just have the cake as coffee portions and get dessert included from the venue. Okay, so it is a very big deciding factor. So if I've got multiple designs, I'm like, well, okay, this one's going to start from this price and this one's going to start from this, depending on what the decorative elements are going to be. Okay, so you want to give them a close, as accurate as you can be without you spending hours and hours individually quoting those cakes when ultimately they're only going to have one design. Okay, so sometimes it's much easier. I've always done my quotes via email. I keep everything in the one spot. So it's not text messages, it's not over social media, it's all via email. So there's one whole written trail of it all, but I'm more than happy to pick up the phone and have a conversation with them, because sometimes you can just nut out 10 different points in a matter of minutes rather than going back and forth via email. Okay, and then once you have discussed everything over the phone, document it all in the email so that you both know that you're all on the same page. Okay, so that's just the beginning of sorting out your wedding cake. And then we can move into things like what are your cake flavors? How tall is the wedding cake going to be? What's delivery going to be like? What's the venue like? Are you working with a wedding planner, or is it just the wedding event organizer from the venue? Have you got all the contact details? What's the drive going to be like? There's so many other things to consider, and I shall see you back in the next cake and coffee chat, and we'll go a bit further and discuss all these other processes that you should have in place and be thinking about when working with clients for their wedding cake, so that it all goes as smoothly as possible. Okay, now if you do want to have a look at a quick checklist that we have put together, we've put a whole heap of our expert tips, which some of we've discussed today, but it's all in our wedding expert tips, and we'll just pop the link below for you. Okay, but the basis of your cakes is that they need to be stable. They need to be structurally stable no matter what the weather is, no matter where you're delivering, no matter what the style is of the cake. And if you've been with me for a while, you would know that I am always talking about ganache is my #1 medium that I use through all my cakes, and internal structure. Okay, so if you need some more help with those, I'll also pop the links to my ganache bundle and my Tall Cakes Made Simple course, so that if you're just starting out and you want to branch into wedding cakes, you seriously do need to be able to go from just creating a single tier cake or cupcakes to be able to confidently make 2, 3, and 4 tier cakes. Okay, so that's why I've put together my ganache bundle, so that you can use that with your tall cakes and know that they're going to be structurally stable and your layers aren't going to slide in the warm weather. And also our Tall Cakes Made Simple course, so that your cake is going to be structurally stable as much as possible, provided you deliver it fine, you chill, you take all the other factors into consideration. You're going to do everything you can to minimize any mishaps And you're going to sleep through all night, every night that you're creating this cake, knowing that every day you get up and the day that you deliver and the day that that bride and everybody else sees your amazing cakes, it looks perfect. There's no leaning, there's no wobbles, there's no bulges, there's no cracking, none of that, okay? You just want to be stress-free. That is how I've run my business for the last 10 years. That is how I would like you to start yours. Okay, so I'll see you next time and we'll continue on with this conversation. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Also, don't forget to follow me on my socials so you never miss out on new content and amazing cake designs. See you next time.